Thank you for all being here. Obviously we've got the LA Galaxy game a little bit in the rearview mirror at this point. 3 days passed, and it's certainly given me time to reflect on the season. And I just really believe that this was a special season for this organization. No matter how you slice it, in my mind, this was the most successful season in the Sounders' history. The domestic double, obviously something that is very rare. But starting way back in preseason, it felt like this group was going to be special. Some of the new players coming in, certainly not limited to these guys, but a guy like Stefan Frei, who comes and solidifies himself as the starting keeper, plays a great season for us, gets better, and probably the player of the playoffs for us. Chad Marshall coming in and dominating at center back. Gonzalo Pineda coming in, being a fantastic leader for us on the field, also great in the clubhouse. Marco Papa, a very special, gifted player who added a ton of flair and creativity to our team. So there are a lot of others that played their roles, but those four coming into preseason to have assimilated and helped us to the successes this year was a nice way to start the year. 20 wins, which is a record for the modern era of MLS post shootout era. So again, a huge accomplishment. 65 goals. We've always talked about wanting to be an attacking, aggressive, creative goal-scoring team. 65 goals, a testament to that. An Open Cup win on the road in Philadelphia. Tough conditions. Just a fantastic performance by the team. Obviously, we'd have loved to have won the coin flip. I think that was your doing, Henderson. Yeah. Lost the coin flip, but to win that on the road, another special way of winning a trophy, winning a championship. Obviously, Supporters Shield, being able to go to LA, grind out a 2-2 draw, and then come home. The great performance by Marco Papa at the end of the game to win the game for us. Just a really special moment, and for me personally, probably the best accomplishment for the Sounders. I truly believe that we were the best team in Major League Soccer in 2014, and even into the playoffs, the semifinal or the Western Conference Finals. We played the Galaxy toe-to-toe. There was nothing between the teams in my mind. It's a cruel game. Sometimes you get the bounces, sometimes you don't. But I guess the disappointment is that potentially there could have been a bit of the changing of the guard there. I think we would have all loved to have been able to come out of that series and say, okay, the Galaxy reign is over. But we certainly feel like we are every bit the equal in terms of an organization and a team on the field. Some, individual accomplishments: Chad Marshall winning Defender of the Year, Chad Anoba being on the best 11. As far as I'm concerned, the voting was improperly counted. In my mind, Sigi Schmid is the coach of the year in MLS. Western Conference, far more difficult conference than the East. I don't care what anybody says. And quite frankly, our league in many ways is designed so that if you suck as a team, it's easier to become better. It's very hard to take a good team and make it a special team. And I think that takes a really special coaching year and performance to do that. So as a consequence of that, a segue, I am very excited and happy today to announce that we've signed a multi-year deal with Sigi. Sigi will be around for the foreseeable future. We're very happy to have him as a coach. I've said it many times. not only a fantastic coach, but a fantastic person, fantastic human being, great person in the community, and someone I'm proud to call a friend of mine. So again, Ziggy locked up. The rest of the coaching staff that maybe Ziggy will touch on. We're very confident in the organization and the infrastructure that we have to be a solid and championship team for years to come. I don't often sort of meander into the business side, but since I've got the opportunity, I'll say a few words about the business. It was definitely an interesting year for us. We transitioned at the end of April from a business operations group in Renton to our own independent group in Pioneer Square, just down the street. Very proud of the group that did that, moved over. It wasn't without bumps in the road. It wasn't without our challenges. Most importantly for us, we feel like it was relatively seamless for our fans. That was the whole goal, is to make sure our fans didn't realize that we were moving out of the VMAC in Renton and over to Pioneer Square. We think we accomplished that, and we've got our feet under us, and we feel like we're starting to fire on all cylinders as a business. And I'm highly confident that our organization is going to continue to maybe forgive the phrase, kick ass in the future, and be a juggernaut in terms of what we do off the field. That includes tickets. Another season with just under 44,000 fans a game, 107th consecutive sellout above capacity. TV ratings up 32% for the year, which is tremendous. Including the most watched game in Sounders history locally on this past Sunday. I've seen a rating that was somewhere between 4.8 and 5.1 locally, which is a tremendous TV rating. Corporate support has never been stronger. Our main sponsors stay with us, and we're signing up new sponsors who understand the value of our brand and the association. And part of that value and association is because of what we do in the community, whether it's, quite frankly, our front office who may go work at a soup kitchen or do good things in the neighborhood, to our players who are out there day in, day out, being great stewards. The Xander Bailey Make-A-Wish Foundation event, which was such a great thing for our organization, our community partners that we continue to support. We launched S2, huge accomplishment this year, and it sometimes it seems like you just send a press release out and now we have this second team, but I assure you there's a ton of work that goes on behind the scenes to get that ready for prime time. I think we're pushing 1,000 season tickets, and I don't believe we've gone on sale yet to our season ticket base. The supporters trust that's associated with that, the fact that our fans are going to own part of that team, and I guess most importantly, it is going to be a tremendous opportunity for our young players to show what they can do and develop for the future. Youth development, again, sort of segueing into something that we continue to focus enormous amounts of time, energy, and money on. The fruits of that labor hopefully come in the form of players like Victor Mansouré, who we just signed and who will start with the team in preseason in January. Again, I'm sure Victor would like to play in the MLS team and be on the 18 or the starting 11, but if he's not, we've got S2 where he can get games and develop. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that this is also a bit of a sad time of the year for us. We like to think of our organization as a family, and this time of year, some of the family leaves town either temporarily or permanently. I'm sure most of you saw we sent a press release out with players whose contracts have not been extended or whose options have not been taken up. That doesn't necessarily mean they won't be with us, but there are some of them who will not be with us next year. Some may retire. Some may be considering retiring. Some may end up on different teams. Some may end up on S2 or in other leagues around the country or around the world. But either way, we spend a lot of time together, and we've become very close. And so and we're all human. And I know they're sort of professional athletes, but for us, they're our colleagues and our friends, and so it's it's never fun to see those relationships end. But specifically because I assume it'll be asked, one of those special relationships is DeAndre Yedlin. DeAndre, I wouldn't say it's 100% at this point, but it seems highly likely that DeAndre will get a work permit to be able to play in England. He's anticipated to be heading over to Tottenham middle to end of December. And we thank DeAndre for his service to the Sounders from the academy all the way up through the first team. But we also, of course, wish him the best of luck. We hope that he goes there, works his butt off, and finds his way into the squad at Tottenham and makes our organization, makes himself, makes the fans of Seattle proud. The future is very bright for our team. I'm not sure maybe I'm jinxing myself, but we're very confident going into next year. We have a core of fantastic players. Chris, Kurt Schmid, that group has done a tremendous job in the last 6 months because our scouting for 2015 starts in 2014. They've done a great job scouring the globe. We've got a lot of players on our radar who potentially we think could come in and help us. We're taking our time. We're going to make sure we get it right, but we're highly confident that if we lose players here and there, expansion draft, that we're in a good place to replace those players. Allocation money, which is kind of that mysterious currency that allows us to buy down our salary cap or acquire players. We're in very good shape in terms of allocation money. And I don't think the last time I think I was able to say that was maybe when we were an expansion team, because as an expansion team, you're given a lot of allocation money. So again, it just helps us to manage the squad. And development, just the continued focus on development. We're heading towards spending $3 million plus per year on development, when you include S2. We will continue to put all the resources necessary into developing young local players who ultimately will be able to help us on the first team. And certainly Ezra's move from assistant coach on the first team to head coach of S2 is a huge step in that direction. So again, very happy about this last season. Certainly could have been slightly changed. We could be preparing for a game on Sunday, but all in all, just a tremendous year. Very gratifying, and we're very excited about next year as well.
Thanks, Adrian. With that, we'll open it up for questions. Matt Pence.
Adrian, you had said that there's a chance that some of the guys that had their options declined today could end up back with the team. Does having S2 make that any more likely for a younger guy like an Foley or Josh Ford, for example?
Yeah, I think it does. I'll let Ziggy answer a little bit more, but I think the short answer is yes.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think, S2 and that team is an ideal situation for Sean. It's also ideal for some of the other players. When you're picking up options, there's a lot of things at stake. Some guys have immediately their contracts become guaranteed. Some other guys are only semi-guaranteed. So you have some flexibility. So that all determines a little bit how you pick up those options. But for the younger players, for Sean Okoli, for a guy like Aaron Kovar, I think for those players, S2 is going to be very, very beneficial for them next year.
Would you care to comment on what it feels like to get a multi-year contract that Adrian had mentioned?
Feels great. I mean, I was happy to come here when I came here in 2009, and I haven't regretted a moment that I've been here. I'm sure sometimes the fans have, but I haven't regretted a moment. I mean, it's great to continue to be able to work in this organization, to work with Adrian, who is a friend, to work with Chris Henderson, who's a friend as well. I think it's something I'm looking forward to, and I'm extremely excited about. And what I said after the game on Sunday, and I don't know if it's completely digested through my system yet at this stage, but is that there's nothing I want to do more than to bring an MLS Cup to this city and to these fans, and so knowing that I have the opportunity to continue to try and do that is something I'm excited about, and I'm really looking forward to.
Tim Booth and Jackie.
Sigi, how much longer do you want to coach?
I think my wife asked me that question too. You haven't talked to her, did you? Okay. I still enjoy it. I still love it. I still like being around the game. I still like being around the players. You still like being close to the banter of the locker room. But more so than anything, just the beauty of coaching is no game is the same and no year is the same. It's always different. You're molding it. You're going into a season with expectations. You're expecting certain things, and then some things come along that change it, and you got to reshape it and remold it. And that's the beauty of the sport. It's the difficulty of it, but it's also the beauty of it, and it's what I enjoy. So. As I asked somebody a long time ago, he was a friend of my father's, and he was well into his 70s, and he was still working. And I said, "Why are you still working? You should be retired." He goes, "They tell me when you retire, you're supposed to do what you enjoy." He goes, "I enjoy working. I enjoy coaching."
Chris, with the announcement of the options you guys didn't pick up, how soon will you start scouting for new players, and is the defense and goalkeeper position a place where you guys are focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, the scouting has gone on for, we always try and look 1 or 2 windows ahead. So even at the beginning of the year in January, we are already looking for what our needs are going to be for 15. So it's been ongoing. We have a list of guys, and we get to a point where we narrow the list down, where we can put them in front of the coaches. They can continue to look at. I think we're happy with Stefan this year in goal. He had an excellent year and improved every single game. But I think we want to look to improve the team. I think maybe the defense is a place we've also looked at. But there's other pieces, too, that we want to improve. And I think with the commitment of our ownership and adding S2 and the commitment to our youth development, to be able to have another Yedlin come through and Victor Mansoret, I think those are huge moments for our club. And it also saves us a ton of money to develop our own players. So, we're really lucky to have ownership that's committed to the future of the club.
Michelle.
This question's for Sigi and Chris, maybe you as well. With the expansion draft next week, are you concerned about losing anyone in particular, and how do you choose which players you safeguard?
Well, historically, every time there's been an expansion draft and there's been, a situation like this year where you can lose 2 players, we always seem to lose 2 players. So they always seem to pick 2 off our roster, and some teams lose none. So it's a total of 20 players that are going to get picked. I think it's and what are we left? 19 teams in the league right now, or 18 teams in the league. So some, like I said, won't lose any. We'll probably lose 2. How you decide who to protect and who not to protect, is a little bit of a game. It's not always a reflection of, these are what they think are the 11 most important players. Sometimes what you're trying to do, too, is you're looking at, okay, what are the expansion team's needs? What are they most likely to take? Are they going to take a player because of these circumstances? Are they going to pass on a player because of these circumstances? If we let this guy out there, he's probably going to get gobbled up for sure. So you look at the list in a lot of different ways, and then you make a final determination. But at the end of the day, it's never perfect. And at the end, I'm sure we expect to lose a couple of guys.
Yeah, and I just want to add, the only consolation this year is if you lose a player, you do get some allocation money for losing players, which in the past you didn't. So at least you can use that money to help improve your roster.
I've got one more, Ziggy. When you look back on this season, what stands out as your favorite, most proud experience or moment?
For me, without a doubt, winning the Supporter Shield. Because the Supporter Shield is a reflection of what you've done for the entire season. It's a 34-game look at your team, and you were the top team after 34 games. And, it's equivalent to winning the Premiership. It's equivalent to winning La Liga. It's equivalent to winning the Bundesliga, what it is everywhere else in the world. And I think that's, when you look at the history of the Supporter Shield and you look at Supporter Shield winners, you don't see, a lot of back-to-back teams do it. It's a rare occasion when teams do it that way versus MLS Cup is a little bit different. And I think you probably see more teams that have won the Supporter Shield and spread out a little bit more. I mean, I haven't done the research, so I might be completely wrong on that. Sometimes you look at that and you see, oh, wow, I didn't know it was quite like that. But certainly, it's the third time I've been able to win the Supporter Shield, and it's something that I'm very proud of.
Adrian, you've obviously known Sigi a while now and worked with him for a while. Did you learn anything new about him this year, given the way last year ended, the pressure that was on him and on this team this year, the way he got the team to respond?
You mean, can an old dog learn new tricks?
No, is there anything that you kind of saw out of him?
I like to think of myself as a young dog.
I guess I did. There were some things that we changed going from last year to this year that I didn't know we would change. I didn't necessarily think needed to change, but the fact that Ziggy was open-minded enough to basically open up the entire playbook and say, okay, just because we've done it this way for the first 5 years and we've had some success doesn't mean it's right for year 6 or 7. So I guess just the ability to evolve, and I'm not sure why that would have really surprised me. Obviously, in order to succeed, you have to be able to evolve. But I guess that was the pleasant surprise that those changes, you can really see I could see the benefits of those changes as the season went on.
Adrian, there's been a few rumors about maybe Clint Dempsey having offers from QPR and Stoke City. Is there any truth to that? And on a side note, has there been any talks about extending the contracts of Marco Papa and Gonzalo Pineda?
Well, I would say no, and no. Effectively, I mean, the rumors. I can't keep track of them. I don't think Clint wants to go anywhere. I think he's very happy in Seattle. You never know in sports, but Pineda and Papa have years left in their contracts, and there have not been any conversations to date about any sort of extensions. So, but as of now, they're both going to be back next year.
Chris, when you're scouting, are you been looking at players more in the south of America, like South American countries, or more like European countries with the league that are a little more competitive than what normally we think in the Central American countries?
Yeah, as Adrian said, we've covered the globe. So we've looked in Asia, we've looked in Europe, and we've looked in South America, Central America. So we continue to look for players that we feel will come in and fit. Many times it's the character of the player, some of his desires to try something new, to come to MLS. We have to look at our current roster and how they fit with that. So we have a list of guys from different continents, and we're evaluating which ones are going to fit into our team the best. And salary goes into it, and style of play.
And also those players you look at, they're fresh players, because it sounds like normally we bring the retired players, right, when come from Europe, but in this case, are you looking for more fresh players that kind of stuff to?
Yeah, I mean, we look for the best players we can find that are going to help our team. So We obviously want to look for the guys that we think are going to be the best players for our club and league. And, we look at different things. We look at age. We look at other characteristics that we weigh in, and we see if they're going to fit for our team.
I guess either for Sigi or Chris or both. With regard to goalkeeper, granting that players always have to compete for their jobs, but with only one keeper on the roster, is the assumption that you're going to be looking for depth or actually for someone to challenge Stefan? And if depth, what do you look for in a reserve keeper? What do you hope to have behind Stefan?
Ziggy, you can answer. I don't know anything about goalkeeping, so I leave it to Tommy and Ziggy.
Yeah, it's we're looking actually right now we're looking at a number of things, from our goalkeeping situation. We want to make sure, with S2 in mind as well. We think we have a situation that we can put a young goalkeeper into a real good developmental situation. We've had a couple of past years where we've had to pass on young goalkeepers because we just didn't have the space or the room on our roster, and a couple of those guys have gone on to do really well in the USL and some other leagues, and I think Tommy's really good at identifying young goalkeepers, and sometimes out of our Las Vegas Combine we end up finding something there. So obviously we're looking at that, but we'd also like to look at a goalkeeper with us going next year in the Champions League. We've got Open Cup and that, a goalkeeper too that has some experience. In our league, there's a number of guys right now on the re-entry phase 1 list. That maybe there's a goalkeeper there that somebody's moving on. In regards to their own personal team needs, that somebody who's got some experience in our league, has played a little bit, maybe even in Champions League or other things, so we can add that kind of goalkeeper. And goalkeepers age, when they're between 28 and 34, 35, they're still very viable. And we've shown that with Casey Keller and with Marcus Hahnemann, who could still perform and do well, into their 40s. So I think goalkeeping's a very unique position that way. So we're looking a little bit for both, somebody young, but we're also looking for somebody with some experience.
Can I just add one thing? I don't know anything about goalkeepers either, but I can add one sort of philosophical piece or sort of practical piece to it, which is that, and no one's asked yet, but I'll mention, obviously Marcus Hahnemann posted a Instagram photo last night that makes it somewhat apparent that he's retiring, without stealing the thunder of a press release, or, I think it's safe to say that Marcus will retire. We want to send him off with the respect he deserves at some point, whether it's communication this year, doing something for him next year, but certainly want to obviously thank him for his commitment, coming back at a time when he could have, retired a couple of years ago, and has been a tremendous pro, great guy in the locker room, Seattle legend. We're so happy to have had him here. And the other thing is that I know on the list that we sent out, we didn't take up the option on Josh Ford, but that doesn't mean we don't like him. And that we don't like him a lot. We just, we're in a situation roster-wise, numbers, salaries, guaranteed contracts that Josh kind of maybe got caught in the numbers game there. But we're continuing to have conversations with Josh because we think he's got a bright future. He needs games for sure, and whether that's with S2, whether that's with us, whether that's somewhere else, time will tell. But I just wanted to make that point.
Adrian, are you anticipating a new surface, playing surface for next season?
Not anticipating it at the moment. Certainly continuing to discuss it. We've got, I would say, 45 to 60 more days before before the point of no return, and we can't get it done. It's something we would like to have done, but we are, again, in the most polite way, we're tenants here, and we need cooperation to get a field replaced.
Adrian, could you talk a little bit about the league? There's been a lot of changes this season upcoming. Just kind of, I know you're not the commissioner, but just kind of your take.
Not yet. No. I mean, I could have done that in the opening remarks, I guess, but the state of the league is very good. Obviously new franchises coming in Orlando and NYCFC next year. Atlanta coming back in 2017. Most likely the the second LAFC team opening back up. Lots of talk of expansion, numerous markets, new 8-year TV deal, good corporate support, very similar to what you see locally, and just a wave of interest in the game at the national level. TV ratings up, attendance up around the league. I think over 19,000 average this year. Quality of play improving, huge investment in infrastructure and youth systems. DC United yesterday, I think, announced council approval of their stadium. A few more hurdles there, but the list goes on. Again, I guess I've never been more bullish in the future of soccer in this country. Certainly there are challenges and we can still screw things up, but soccer feels pretty stable and like a pretty good top 5 sport in this country at this point.
Adrian, after the game on Sunday, Brad Evans said that kind of the older that he gets, the more big picture he can get, even after a loss. Do you think the same can be said about the club at this point, that you guys have reached a point where maybe it doesn't seem you can take a little bit longer of a view?
Can you? I'm not sure I understand the question.
After 6 seasons and all that, do you think it's a little bit different taking the long view in rebuilding and not being too knee-jerk, I guess, to a loss like that?
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Certainly, look, I mean, I've only been in this business now for 13 years, and it's as painful as it was in the first year to lose a big game, big series, but I do think that I've gotten to the point where I can, like this press conference isn't quite as painful as it was in those early years. I can certainly see the growth and evolution of our club. We also have a stable, we're not a startup anymore. I used in the first 5 years, I would worry that, 30 minutes before the game that no one was going to show up for our games. But I now know the fans are, going to show up. I know our corporate sponsors are with us. I know that TV ratings are going to be, there's some level of calmness now about it. And I think it's good. I think it helps to manage the business and the team and the culture in a better way. One of the things, again, not to make this all about me, but I've tried over the years to have the highs be a little not quite so high and the lows not quite so low, and stay a little even keeled. Our friend Alan Hinton gave me some advice on that that was quite shrewd, and there was some good wisdom there. So yeah, I mean, I think time has calmed everyone, I suppose, a little bit.
Yes, Adrian, I think it was about a year ago at this time, maybe a little before the season ended, that you had sort of committed publicly to Alonso and Evans and Dempsey as sort of what you wanted to see as the core of the team going forward. And I guess with a year down the road, what you think, how that decision worked out, and also if there's any sort of similar thing that you're looking for this year, that this is who we want to bring in as our key, our core, our dependable guys going forward.
I think, if it's okay, Don, I'm going to pass that to Chris and Ziggy, because I mean that's a team, a team as in this group and the coach's decision, not a me decision.
Yeah, I mean, certainly those three guys are very important, and that's something that we talked about at the end of last season, and spoke to those three guys. But I think, if anything, our core has expanded. I think Chad Marshall has become an important member of that. I think Stefan Fry is on his way to becoming a part of that. So a lot of times you look at your spine down the middle of the field for your team and how strong is your spine. And Obafemi Martins this year came in with a tremendous performance. And a lot of people I think maybe don't realize how much time Oba actually spends on the game as well, more than maybe some of us all think. And so when you look at him and Dempsey, and you look at Pineda and Alonso, and then you're looking at Chad Marshall and Stefan Fry, that's a pretty decent core of players down the middle of the field. That's a pretty decent spine, and then building around that spine then becomes a little bit easier. So you're always looking to do that. I think we've also done a good job, Dave Tenney and his staff, in terms of managing our players, in terms of maintaining our fitness. We went over information today because we look at everything at the end of the season. We're starting those meetings. We had less days lost due to injury this year than we've had in any of the two previous seasons by a significant amount. And that's something that speaks to the effort that they're doing, but also allows our players the longevity of players. In the old days when you got to be 31, 32, it was basically careers over. And now you see guys on the field, playing until 34, 35, 36, and still being effective. So that's something that we hope to continue to do, because we've got some guys crossing into that 30-year threshold, but we still think they can be effective.
Yeah, just adding, the coaching staff did a great job. I think we changed 15 players last year, so it's a testament to Ziggy and his staff, what they had done to do as well as we had this year.
Jackie, then Tim.
Ziggy, U.S. Soccer announced today that DeAndre Yedlin was named the Young Male Soccer Athlete of the Year. Just your thoughts on him getting that award and how it reflects on his performance here at the bandwidth national team?
I think it's fantastic for DeAndre. I think he's well deserving of the award. I think his development, has been very, very good. When I spoke to him the other day, I said to him that I thought the game against LA, this last game, might have been his most complete game. I think he pretty much shut Donovan down, I thought, in the first half. And in the second half, when Donovan did get his opportunities, it was more because we had to start to open up, and that's when they got some counters in. But, in terms of his ability to be good on the defensive end of the field and still get forward and contribute for us offensively, I thought it was maybe his best complete game. And he's going to continue to grow. He's going to continue to improve. And, we wish him nothing but the best as he moves forward to Tottenham. And, I think he's a player who's attentive and who's committed, and I think that's the reason that he's been successful. I think people see DeAndre and sometimes they see the hair and they see the different things going on, but I still remember the kid I saw when he played against Chivas, and it was a hot, miserable day, and it was a Sunday game after they already played a Saturday game with the academy, and guys were going down like flies, and he had taken a pretty bad knock on his ankle, and he was still trooping up and down the field, and would never give in to his pain and would never give in to the game. And that's the guy. I said, I think he has something, and he was committed. When he was in college, he came back. When he played with the under-23s, he was at every practice. He was at every game. He didn't take shortcuts to get where he is, and it's great to see a kid who doesn't take shortcuts get rewarded. And so I'm extremely happy for him.
Kind of following up on that, Sigi, I mean, you've known for a while the deal with Tottenham was there, but how do you go about replacing your right back who's got some unique skills?
Well, you got to replace them. I mean, that's the thing. It's as I always say to the team at the end of the year, this group will never be together again. There's always going to be some changes, and so now we've got to look at replacing them. Brad Evans has certainly played some at right back with the national team. There's an option. Jaleel Anibaba played, a lot at right back with Chicago. I know he's out of contract and he's on, he's on the phase 1 list, but he's still somebody that we're talking to. And then obviously Chris through the scouting and everything else, we've got some right back options that we're looking at there as well. So it's a matter of finding somebody that we think fits into our team, that fits into our team not only on the field but in the locker room. Because something I want to mention that maybe hasn't gotten enough credit. There were a lot of guys this year. Marcus being one of them. We talked about Marcus a little bit, but a Jimmy Traore as another example, and even a Kenny Cooper and people like that, and Anibaba who certainly maybe didn't play as many minutes as they would have liked, who were tremendous in our locker room and really were great examples for the young kids that were in our locker room and to continue to go out every day and perform well. So, that's what we're looking for as well. We're looking for a player who's going to fit for us and help us on the field, but also a player that's going to fit into the culture of our club.
Adrian, you were asked about Clint earlier, but is there anybody that would be looking at going out on loan during this offseason, or are you going to have everybody?
No, I think, it's been a long season, again, especially for a guy like Clint, who's been going for who knows how many months straight, So preseason starts in, 6 weeks. Guys need a
January 24th.
Yeah, guys need a rest. And then they'll, a lot of guys, they're such good pros, they'll be back, in the early part of January to start getting a little bit of fitness, a little base in, and before we know it, it'll be time again. So, no.
Aside from obviously replacing DeAndre Yedlin, that's such a big part of the team, what else would you say is the number one need for the team next season? Is it an attacking midfielder that you could put behind the forwards like you like to do, or what is the biggest need for the team next season?
I think you got to look at our team, and certainly, we've got some pretty good soldiers in, for example, Leo Gonzalez and Zach Scott, but they're also getting a little older, and so we've got to look at can we find some replacements there? Can we find some people that younger players that can step into their shoes as we move forward? Having a playmaker type of player, I think we have one of those in Marco Papa. Is that player a guy who plays wide? Is it a player who plays in the middle of midfield? All depends a little bit, but having a player who can connect passes and set things up is important to us as well. Obviously DeAndre, and you mentioned that, and so we're always looking at all the different areas of the field. We want to make sure that we remain competitive. We know that there's a Gold Cup coming up in the summer. That Gold Cup's going to mean that we're going to lose Marco Papa for a period of time. We're going to lose Clint Dempsey for a period of time. And who knows? We could lose somebody else as well. You never know. So we have to be prepared for that and make sure we have appropriate replacements.
I don't think I've guessed Rice yet, so whoever is the best person to answer this. On the expansion draft, I presume it's every year, not necessarily just naming, clicking off your best 11 players. Could somebody speak maybe to what how much of it is a gamble, sort of daring the other team, thinking that they won't pick this guy because of age or something like that? Just what sort of things do you weigh beyond sheer, we want him back next year, so we better protect him?
It is a little bit of a crapshoot, if you want to call it that, because otherwise you just say, okay, let's just protect our starting 11 and we'll go from there. But then you've got to look at things, and you got to look at our players thinking about maybe retiring. A guy like Zach Scott, who's now 34, going on 35, who is going to have off-season surgery. Has been in Seattle all this time, so is he really somebody who's going to go somewhere else? He's not even sure if he's going to come back next year at this stage. So then you think, okay, he was a starter for us, but maybe we don't protect him at this stage. So you look at different things like that. You look at another guy's maybe contract. the amount that he's making, you say maybe that'll scare a team off. So you look at that. So you're balancing all those different things. And the league also has rules depending on how many foreign players you have on your rule. You got to protect so many foreign players as well. I know there's sometimes teams that will approach you and say, well, can we trade a couple of our foreign guys to you so you can put them on your list, and because we have too many and we don't want to protect these guys. So so there's different things that go into it. So it's not and it's not an exact science either. And at the end of the day, and then you also try and guess a little bit of, I've heard this guy likes this player, or I've heard, I know this guy has some history with this guy. So, you're saying, well, maybe we shouldn't put him on the list because, there's a likelihood that he might get taken, whereas another coach, might not. And then you've got the other side of it, like a couple of years ago when Vancouver was one of the new teams in the league, and we were able to pick up O'Brien White, through the expansion draft by making a trade, and unfortunately, O'Brien's career was cut short with the with the blood clot situation. But that would have been an excellent pickup for us. So sometimes you're also on the other side of it. You're looking at who the other teams don't protect, and there might be somebody that they don't protect that really sparks our interest, where we then go to one of the clubs and say, hey, what would you, if you pick this guy, what would you want from us? So you give this guy to us, and so forth. So it's a pretty massive game. And once those lists come out, on Monday and before Wednesday, Chris and myself and Kurt and Adrian will probably all be very busy on the phone.
Yeah, we've tried to think back to when Ziggy wasn't on yet, but when we went through the expansion draft coming into the league, and some of the things that we were thinking that maybe these new teams coming in are thinking about.
Adrian, Sigi, Chris, what will be the end of season message for the fans?
Thank you. Thank you for another amazing run. We couldn't be successful without them, without you. You stick with us through thick and thin, good times and bad. The most devoted, passionate fan base in our league, and we're forever grateful. And as Ziggy says, our sole focus is to win championships, win games for them, and to make them proud of being fans of a great organization and a great group of individuals.
I mean, for me, it's the same. It's thank you, but it's also enjoy the Supporter Shield. We brought you home a trophy that represents that we were the best team over 34 games, and that trophy sits with you, and enjoy it. And every year we'd like to bring you something new. So hopefully we'll bring back a new piece of silverware next year.
Yeah, I mean, they've both said it all. We're proud of the team. I hope the fans are as proud as the team we have out there every year. And we're going to work as hard as we can to continue to be successful each year.
I think we're in the home stretch here, so if you have any remaining questions, just raise your hand, Matt Pence.
Adrian, Jimmy Traore said in an interview last week that he had been sort of planning for the end of his career and that he might have a future within the Sounders organization. Is that true on your guys' end as well?
Yeah, we're talking to Jimmy. I think these are tough decisions at the end of a career. Jimmy's been a great soldier. Whether he's got the legs in him to play anymore, I don't know. It's up to him. But we wanted to give him some time to kind of think through what the next steps are for him. But we definitely love to find a place in the organization for him. I think Jimmy will long term make a great coach at some level, whether it's academy level or professional. Smart. He's seen a lot of the game. So yeah, he's one of those guys we'd love to keep involved in the organization if he's not playing.
Yeah, one of you guys, can you just clarify what the surgery Zach's having is, and you get a sense right now if he's leaning one way or the other whether to return next year?
Yeah, it's a foot surgery, so it's related with the issues he was having. He suffered that one injury in the Dallas game. So right now for him, he's got to sit down, talk to his family, see how he feels after that surgery. See how his body comes back and reacts. So there's a lot of things, but Zach's been a good soldier, so we trust him at the end of the day.